I think that's something that most schools would agree upon. So when you look at the next 2 years, you can see that increase, and that's because there are more schools, more data to kind of, or more subjects, more areas that were tested that brought that data up. Year 2 was our best year by far as from a data standpoint. We increased to 89, 89.1 to be exact, with school accountability growth, which is exceptionally high. In fact, that put us in an area of being one of the highest in the state of North Carolina. So it's kind of become it was a blessing, and now it's kind of become a curse because it's kind of hard to do that every year. So we settled in at 84.5 after year 2, which, as I mentioned before, is very close to exceeding growth. So when you look at our 3-year trend, growth and performance grade, you can see there, just kind of gives you a visual of what I've already talked about. Year 1 coming in with a B, moving to an A in year 2, and in year 3 an A. To be specific, that was an 80 in 2017 to an 88, and then to an 87 in 2019. So as far as performance, we've kind of maintained year 2 and year 3, and then with growth, as I mentioned, we went from a 79 to an 89, and then to an 84.5. So let's talk about how we compare to our sister school, Challenger. I won't lie, the first school that I check every year when I receive our testing data is Challenger. They share the same community college partner, Catawba Valley Community College, as we do. We do a lot of the same things. In fact, when we were starting out, I pretty much copied everything Dr. Benfield was doing at Challenger. So I kind of set a bar personally that if I can be half the principal Dr. Benfield was for Challenger, and AEC can perform as well as Challenger performs, then I think that would be a success. So I always I kind of use them as a measuring stick, if you will. So in 2018, looking at the data, AEC outpaced Challenger by 0.95. That's almost a full point, which is a blowout as far as testing data. If you put that in a football score, it'd be about 49-3, AEC. I made that up. So we were able to do this just in our second year, which I think is a pat on the back to our exceptional staff and our awesome students. And then in 2019, which is our most recent data, we continued to outpace Challenger, but the gap did close because we did decrease in the growth index, but we still outpaced them by 0.8 of a point in overall growth. So let's broaden the scope here a little bit and look at other early colleges, not just Challenger. So when you look at AEC versus Challenger, Caldwell Early College and Wilkes Early College, in 2018, AEC was the leader of that pack as far as growth. Challenger being in second place, Wilkes in third place, and Caldwell in fourth place. But you can see there when you look at the table that we pretty much blew everybody out in 2018. And I would love to have that data every year, and that is my goal. But as I mentioned before, that is somewhat difficult, but it can be achieved. And we're putting things in place to kind of get back to that level. But in 2019, we did decrease. And if you look at 2019, Challenger also decreased. So they're kind of following that same data trend. AEC and Challenger moved respectively to third and fourth. Wilkes moving from third to first, and Caldwell made an exceptional jump. Caldwell kind of struggled in 2018 and made quite the leap forward in 2019, of which we went and visited their campus to kind of pick their brains and see what they were doing, and we brought some of those best practices back to Alexander Early College. But what I think is very telling is if you take the average of all of that growth data over 2 years, AEC comes out on top with a growth index of 2.73. Wilkes Early College being in second place at 2.6, Challenger at 2.2, and Caldwell at 1.1. And I think that gives you a very accurate picture as far as how strong we are at AEC, and being consistent as well. over the 4 years that we've been around. So breaking it down by staff, remember that we do have a small staff. We're actually hoping to solidify an 8th hire tonight with the science position. So that will give us 8 teachers. And so looking at the data, we've never had a teacher not meet growth. In 2019, we had 5 that met growth and 3 that exceeded. And in 2018, when our growth index was higher, those numbers were reversed. We had 3 that met growth and 5 that exceeded. And what I've done is I've met with those teachers that flip-flopped and talked with them extensively about, hey, why did you drop from meeting growth to exceeding growth? What was the differences? And we've worked out a plan, and they're excellent teachers. They do an excellent job for us. But and those types of things do happen. But I think overall, having a 2-year teacher growth average of 3.14 is exceptionally high for a staff. So very happy with that data. Okay, so let's talk about some things that for me are a little more fun. AEC total enrollment, we're at a solid 223 students. That's a substantial number of students. Makes us a pretty big school, if you ask me. Freshmen, we're at 59, and these are the current numbers, not counting our incoming freshman class. Sophomores at 54, juniors at 69, and seniors at 41. Our clubs, all or most of our student clubs are student-initiated, which means students come up with the ideas and they find club sponsors, which are usually our teachers. I have a club, and our school counselor has a club that she sponsors. Actually, she has several. But some of those clubs that we have are Beta Club, Student Council, Pride, Faith, Tart Club, Drama Club, which we've competed and done very well in, Art Club, Future Teachers of America, Yearbook, Safe Haven, Mathletes, Interact Club, and certainly those aren't all of them, but those are just the ones I was going to give a shout out to tonight. Something really cool that we came up with as far as a partnership with North Iredale's Early College, which is called the Early College of Agriculture and Science. Challenger, Wilkes Early College, and Yadkin Early College is the Early College Cup. Began for AEC last school year. That was the 18-19 school year. Basically, this is a great way for us to kind of build our own culture and character with our student athletes that we have at AEC. We certainly appreciate the partnership we have with Alexander Central. And our students really enjoy playing for Alexander Central. However, yeah, go ahead and stay back on that early college. Yeah. But I want to kind of highlight what this is and what we've done. We travel on Saturdays to Wilkes Community College, and we compete either, you have 2 events going on simultaneously. You'll have an academic event and an athletic event. And you're awarded points, first, second, third, fourth, and then they tally up the points at the end. And this is a year-long competition. In the fall, we did basketball and math counts, and I think in the winter we did quiz bowl and indoor soccer. Many of our students will compete both in the athletic competition and the academic competition. We have AEC jerseys. It's great. It's just an awesome thing to go to. They're serving food. People really get into it. And when it all shook out this year, we had to cancel the spring event, but AEC came in a close second. So our student athletes did very well. So it's something we're proud of and want to continue to do in the future. So as I mentioned before, we're very proud of our partnership with Alexander Central High School. Just want to take this moment to thank ACHS administration. Coach Robinson especially does a great job with trying to help incorporate AEC Owls into Cougar athletics. And we've had some very successful students this year competing for the Cougars. I want to talk about Maddie Thomas, next slide, and also Camilla Church and Jasmine Parker. All 3 of those young ladies are seniors at AEC. Maddie Thomas and Camilla Church were nominated for ACHS Female Athlete of the Year. Jasmine Parker received a scholarship for softball to Johnson C. Smith, of which we had our first signing day at Alexander Central. It made the paper. It was Great time. We had cake and parents and friends and all kinds of things going on. Dr. Hefner joined us over there. So very proud of all of those student athletes. This is my favorite slide. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that I set the bar for myself as far as I attended the Challenger graduation when I was offered the position of being principal at Alexander Early College. And that was in 2016. I was invited by Dr. Benfield. Dr. Hefner was there. And at that graduation ceremony, Dr. Benfield announced that the graduating class at Challenger received over $1.6 million in scholarships. And that blew my mind. I thought, this is a phenomenal program. And I wrote that number down. And I put it in my presentations. And I talked about it at the middle schools. And I talked about it with parents. So this is the first year where we have our number. And our number for scholarships this year is $3,147,418, which makes me so proud. And that is with 41 students. So when you do the math, and I'm not a math teacher, so I hope this is correct. That breaks down to $76,766 per student. Average cost is somewhere between $18,000 to $20,000 a year. So that's almost a full ride for every student. Now that's not what happened, but that is the average. So the comparison, as I mentioned, was $1.6 million. Of course, that was 4 years ago, and you know, economies change, so that number may be a little low compared to what it would be today. But that was certainly my goal. And just comparing that $3.1 million to $1.6, that's double the total scholarship money, and something to consider is Challenger takes more students. So you had more students contributing to that $1.6 million versus the 41 that we ended up with, the 3.1. Yes, sir.
Can you comment on how many of the kids graduating are going on to college?
So out of the 41, 39 of the 41 have committed, but the two, actually, take that back, one of them did commit, so 40 of the 41. We have one student that is adamant that she's going to work.
That's impressive.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I feel that we are setting our students up for success, not just at AEC, but beyond AEC. And hopefully, once they go off to college, they'll come back here and contribute to Alexander County and make it in a better place for everyone. So this is kind of a breakdown, and you'll have this information to look at later. I won't spend a lot of time talking about this tonight because I know that there's other people that are going to be presenting this evening. But I already mentioned 41 graduating seniors. Most scholarships or major scholarships were to 9 different colleges and universities. 5 universities awarded scholarships to multiple AEC students. The biggest or the most, I guess, would be Lenore-Ryan University as far as the number of scholarships that were offered. The one that kind of stands out, or the outlier, would be to Amherst College in Massachusetts. And that particular student received a full ride from Amherst. So, and she's super excited. She was at East Alexander Middle School with Dr. Harrington, who's here tonight, and she certainly, and Sunny Point with Dr. Curry. Everybody's taking credit for that one. Okay. So I want to give a shout out to some folks that are here tonight and some folks that aren't here tonight with our facility. Things are going very well with our current facility. We are operating in 2 buildings on the CVCC Taylorsville campus, with high school operations primarily taking place in the Alexander Center, which is the older of the 2 buildings, or the more traditional building that people associate, I think, with the Taylorsville campus. And the Applied Technologies building, which was recently updated, is where most of our students take their CVCC courses only. So that's working out very well. But as you know, there's a road there that goes between the 2 schools. And I met with Dr. Hefner and some other folks from the central office, and Chris Campbell was in there, and we talked about a need for just making that crosswalk safer for our kids as they travel to and fro between the 2 buildings. And Mr. Odom became involved in the process. I wrote a letter to him kind of explaining the situation, and I wanted to commend him and thank him for everything that he did. He acted swiftly, and and we have a much safer crosswalk now for our students. And I have noticed a considerable difference. Before, we might have some traffic coming through there a little too fast for my liking, and now almost all of the vehicles coming through there at a very reasonable speed, a safe speed for our students. So that's one thing that we've improved that is wonderful. Also, and Dr. Hefner was a part of that, and thank you, Dr. Hefner, for that. And then also, shout out to Dr. Hefner for helping us out with the modular unit. I know there's some other folks that were involved in that process as well. We were in the need of one more classroom, given the current situation with us being housed primarily in the Alexander Center. And Alexander County Schools was able to procure a modular unit for our students, and it looks outstanding. And my hat's off to Chris Campbell, Mr. Campbell. He's out there pressure washing it, having it painted, putting a roof on it. I mean, it just looks great. And a lot of elbow grease went into that to make it look wonderful. And they did that for our kids, and our kids really do appreciate it. And it looks wonderful. So I wanted to thank the appropriate people for that. Since I've talked to you last, we have electric door locks, the main entrances of both buildings, which makes us much safer. We have window screens, which you can see in the photographs, and Brandon from Inline Designs put those on there for us with grant money. And you can't see inside the school, which is great. So once again, contributing to the overall safety of our school. And we've added some additional cameras in the Applied Technologies building. And that was all CVCC that did that, adding those cameras over there, which has helped us to keep an eye on students, and also it makes us safer. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is community service. Big part of our school is giving back to this community. Homeless care packages are some of the things that we work on tirelessly with our students. Also volunteering at the Christian Crisis Center, helping with Operation Gratitude. We write letters, our students write letters to deployed troops, first responders, and emergency medical personnel, which in these times is certainly very important. We donate to animal shelters. We send cards and color drawings to local nursing homes, which is one of my favorite things when they go and they play games with folks at the nursing homes. And then our students are peer tutoring with the stay-at-home order and school cancellation, working from home. We're all relying on Zoom these days. Who really knew what Zoom was a year ago, right? But we all know what it is now. And our students have been tutoring other students through Zoom. We'll go on to the next slide. One more. Habitat for Humanity, which has been great. We're working with Mr. Cooksey, and we have a club at school that works tirelessly to try to help out with Habitat for Humanity. Mrs. Kane, one of our teachers on staff, heads up Interact Club, and they work directly with Habitat for Humanity. We do food drives, as I think I mentioned before, and we're working on an art mural, but we're being careful with that because that's kind of turning into a facilities issue. We participate in the backpack program, so we're doing lots of great things. And the important thing I want people to know is we do strive to give back to the community in Alexander County. So let's talk about COVID-19 quickly. What have we been doing? During this time, I collaborated with my teachers to come up with the teacher work plan. It's just kind of a basic outline, which you can see on the slide, of what the teacher workday would look like. We agreed that we would maintain the same hours for instruction between students and teachers via Zoom. Teachers would have 3 required times for checking and responding to email, students and parents. Teachers would maintain office hours to tutor and assist students during their normal times. Google Classroom, Google Slides, and Hangouts are all things that we utilized during normal operations, so we wanted to continue those things. Timekeeper was used to track hours. Each teacher also created a Google Calendar where they documented every single thing they did every single day, so I could check it at any moment throughout the school day. Student grades. AEC followed the plan outlined by DPI. Each student could choose between his or her grade as of March 13th or May 20th, which was our last day of school. The state plan did say that numerical grades would factor into the student's GPA, therefore they will. WC-19 marks were given in lieu of failing grades. This only applies to students that were failing the course prior to March 13th, though. All students were required, and this is a big one that I want to emphasize, regardless of their choice, we said at the early college, you're going to work till the last day of school. So most of our students were on board with that. We had a very positive reaction to that. Our teachers did a great job of making the learning interesting, and I think that was key. So you can see an example. It's a very basic form that was sent to every student at AEC from their teacher for each class, where they got to select the option that they wanted. And then that populated a spreadsheet, of which was shared with me and Mrs. Sherrill, and we had further steps that we would take based on the grade that was awarded to the students. So some of the things we've been trying to do to keep morale up, I've checked in with my teachers as a staff, school counselor, and CVCC liaison every Wednesday at 8:30 via Zoom, which went very well. We collaborated to create the teacher work plan, as I discussed earlier. I created the COVID-19 update, of which I shared with district personnel, CVCC personnel, students, parents, and my own staff. It was also posted on our website and Facebook page. And within that, teachers they were given a forum to express gratitude and also highlight things they were doing that they were proud of and give student shout outs. We had the thank you AEC staff put on the hillside, which you can see, it's kind of small, but I have a picture there of that. And that was brought in for our student cruise-in that we did to support all of our students, just to thank them for working hard through this difficult time. We did pizza in a plant for our teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. The staff came up with the idea for senior signs, and that came from one of our weekly check-ins. So that's something that came from our staff collaboration, where we had some signs made just recognizing our class of 2020, and then we went to their houses and put those signs out in their yards. And then I felt it necessary to write a personal handwritten thank you card to each teacher. And then I put a $10 gift card in there for Walmart, and I said, your next roll of toilet paper is on me. So I feel like that kept morale. All right. So as I mentioned, weekly staff meetings were important. Those happened on Wednesdays. It was an opportunity for teachers to provide input regarding remote learning. It was a forum to discuss best practices and struggling students. It was a creative process to create a path through remote learning, and also provided teacher updates as far as what was going on with students. Okay. COVID-19 communication. That was probably the most important thing during this difficult time, was being able to communicate and be as transparent as possible with the community, with our parents, with students, and with teachers. We made multiple Facebook posts every day, so we actually increased the number of Facebook posts we made. Weekly COVID-19 newsletter was shared with all of those folks listed up there, which I mentioned earlier. Frequent Blackboard phone messages went out from me. Frequent mass student emails from me. Teacher-student Zoom interactions were documented, and we had numerous occasions where I would attend the Zoom session or the Zoom class just to say hey and see what was going on, kind of do an interactive type of observation, if you will. All right. Student recognition was very important during this time to keep their morale high, their spirits high, keep working hard. Student shout-outs in the weekly update, senior spotlight, which I'll talk about here in just a second. Our senior signs, which I mentioned earlier, and you see some pictures there of Mrs. Sharp putting one of those signs in a student's yard, and then also one of our students' reactions to their sign. I mentioned the student cruise before. It was great. It was an old-fashioned car cruise, and it was a way for them to yell at each other and say, hey, but they were inside of a car and stayed within all the rules and regulations in Phase 2 of North Carolina Governor Cooper's plan. Senior banner, which is still on display on the hillside on our campus. It has all the names of our class of 2020, just giving them a shout-out saying AEC Strong. We would have Zoom parties. I participated in the AEC Ambassador Zoom party, the AEC Freshman Zoom party, and the AEC Senior Zoom party. That was pretty cool. And you can actually have a good time through Zoom. And then we had a banner out front, a giant banner for cap and gown pickup where students could exit and maintain the rules of social distancing, exit their vehicle, and write a message for their fellow graduates and other students at the school. So Senior Spotlight's really cool. Honestly, this came from Caldwell Early College. if they're watching, which I don't know if they are, but she gave me the idea, the principal there at Caldwell Early College. And what we've been doing, and we're continuing to do it, is we're just highlighting our seniors. I wanted to make something, post it on the web, our webpage, and then also Facebook page for parents to have access to see, to share with family and friends that may not live nearby. And then also they could print it off, have it printed, and it'd be something as a keepsake that I could give to them virtually, given the current situation. And those are just examples of what we've done. It lists the student's name, has their senior photo, nice background to the document, and then it has all the colleges that they were accepted to, and then where they are deciding to go, and then what they hope to major in. So, our graduation plan. It's going to be a traditional graduation ceremony as of right now. That's what my hopes are. It has been moved from May 23rd to July 25th, which is the last Saturday in July. It will take place at 10:30 a.m. in this very room. In short, everything that was planned for May 23rd has just been moved to July 25th. We're going to make it as traditional as possible, or as traditional as we're allowed to make it. But the backup plan is we have the luxury of watching and noting what works well with other ceremonies that have elected to proceed in June. And we will take what works best from those examples. And I'll say I love Alexander Central High School's plan. So you might see it twice. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. AEC Accomplishments. So this is just an overview of things that we've been able to do in the last 3 to 4 years. Twice we've been eligible to send someone to governor's school, and both times we've been able to do that. This year, most recently, Haley Marshall. Before that, Micaiah Parsons. And Micaiah happens to be our student going on to Amherst on the full ride, so very proud of her. There is a summer STEM program at the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is very difficult to get into. It takes place at University of Tennessee, and we've been able to send 2 students to that 2 separate years. AEC sophomore Coble Hartman was a $1,000 winner for the What's Your Short Story, which is a video contest. I posted that on our Facebook page trying to get people to vote for it. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It happened before the pandemic, but it was what would happen if we lost internet. And he was talking about all this crazy stuff that could happen. And then now it's kind of like, well, that might be the next thing. So I'll call Coble if that happens and say, give me some advice. The Shakespeare monologue competition, which takes place at the Broy Hill Center in Lenore, we had a 2nd place finisher, and that's a regional competition. And we were able to do that just in our 2nd year in competing in that event. We had the Patrick Beaver Scholarship winner this year. We've received the North Carolina Growth Award every year that we've been in existence. AEC scored 100% approval, a record 69 times on the North Carolina Teacher Working Conditions Survey. 85 to 90% pass rate on the NC DAP exam, which is basically a college entrance exam, which is a very high pass rate for 14 and 15-year-old students. Our teachers try to model giving back to the community so that the students will do it, and they all contribute to the United Way, which is a very high percentage. We're a Beta Club School of Merit. We participated in Jeanette Staley Math Competition, where we had a winner and a 2nd place finisher, and the winner of the Appalachian State Art Contest for the district. So, all right. Go Owls. That's it. I tried, y'all. I had a lot of slides. I apologize. I did try to go fast.
Mr. Evans, congratulations on a great several years. I know this is new to all of us, and you've done a wonderful job, and
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And on a sad note, our governor's school recipient, we thought that they were going to try to delay governor's school, but they have now ended up just canceling. So she is completely bummed that she won't get to go this summer.
Yeah. We'll try to maybe get her some ice cream or something when she goes back. We'll have an ice cream party in her honor. But I do want to say last thing, it's been an honor being the principal of Alexander Early College, and I appreciate everyone's support that's up here, because it wouldn't have happened without each and every one of you, your continued support.
Well, thank you. You've done a
Thank
good
you.
job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, and next on our list is Dr. Lisa Harrington, Program Coordinator at the Student Success Center.
Well, I'm sorry, but I do not have 32 slides. I don't think I could talk that long, Mr. Evans. I would like to call your attention to the picture that's up on the screen, though. Can y'all hear me okay? Can't ever tell. Taylorsville Savings Bank came to our school and did financial literacy, taught financial literacy to our students during Smart Lunch once a week for about 6 weeks, maybe 7, and they wanted to do something special. So they wanted to take them to eat at McClendon's, and we decided to make it a business luncheon. So all the kids dressed up, which was way outside of some of their comfort zones, and they weren't really sure they wanted to, but they all ended up participating. And I don't know if you can tell, but that picture is priceless because of just the self-confidence that they had standing there all dressed up. So I wanted to include that in my presentation.
Absolutely.
Our goal at SSC is to shift students' self-view, and that can be done through college enrollment, shadowing experiences, jobs, being in contact with military, positive exposure to the community, but we really want to produce productive citizens. And we've stressed, you either work when you finish, you go to the military, or you go to college. Those are the 3 options, and a lot of them are doing that. So our students, we ended the year with 27. We had 39 students go through our school this year. 271, if I counted correctly, credits were earned. We had 13 graduates this year, 5 in January and 8 in June. I don't have the spacing correct on the next line, but we have 8, well, that's 9 working. I found out at Walmart this afternoon one more of our students has a job. 7 students shadowed at 13 businesses this year. We have 1 student attending CVCC for the Automotive Technology Program. That's through the Career and College Promise Program. I had 3 students enroll this year, and 1 made it. That's 33%. I'm looking for a lot more next year. I have 7 who are enrolling for in CVCC for next year. A lot of them for welding, a couple other courses scattered through there, so I'm excited about that. That is a quilt that they quilted their own little quilt square, and then we made it into a wall hanging. So. And I sort of repeated myself. 5 students graduated in January, 8 in June. That did include 4 OCS students who completed their work hours and their coursework with us. That was an accomplishment. I've started a table to kind of compare some data from last year with this year. My brain has to organize it that way, so I have a longer table, but this is just the suspensions and the suspension incidents, and I know this year was only 3/4 of the year, but we still reduced those a lot. Sometimes that's just with the clientele, but whenever we started enrolling our students, the 3 students who enrolled at CVCC, they were in my office filling out their application, and I just let them work, and if they had questions, they were supposed to ask me. There were 2 of them working at this time, and I heard one of them say, "Did you ever think we'd be applying to college?" And I was like, oh, that was worth everything right there. So I'm hoping that has made a difference. It's definitely made a difference in the underclassmen and how they perceive their senior year or junior year for this coming year. So I want to thank several people for the Head Start bus. That was a godsend and a lifesaver in a lot of instances. We transported students to college classes, to work, to community service, to do their job interviews, field trips, all kinds of stuff. We delivered food and packets. So Miss Macy Jones and Miss Mahaffey and Mr. McCurdy, thank you for working that out. Yay. Todd Fox and Steve Absher made driver's ed happen at the Student Success Center, which was great. A lot of our kids don't have transportation in the afternoons, so that was priceless for them. Math tutor Miss Gentry, I don't know if you know Faye Gentry, but she is an absolute math angel with our kids. Not all of them love math. As a matter of fact, that is probably a common denominator in a lot of them. They don't. So she came 2 to 3 days a week, and some of those students did not want to meet with her, but then they ended up asking to go meet with her, and some of them stayed 3 hours a day for the 2 or 3 days that she was there, just working with her with math. But the confidence in just doing math, that was just priceless to watch. We had a meeting with NC Works and CVCC and Voc Rehab. It was a collaborative meeting just for our parents, and they showed them around CVCC and NC Works and Voc Rehab, talked about how they could help their students go to college. It was a great first meeting. We were planning on having another one. We were going to have one in the spring, but obviously that didn't happen, so we're going to have another one next year. And then again, Taylorsville Savings Bank took us to McClendon's. Smart Lunch, that's just a list of a few things that we had during Smart Lunch. There's a wide variety of people who came in and explained their job. We did anything we could to try to hook kids, to let them see there are more things than sitting at home to do to be productive. Some of those came from Wilkes Community College. One they really enjoyed was Teen Cuisine, and Durr Holcomb, I don't know if you know her, she came 4 times and taught them to cook, which they love because they love to eat. So they got to eat what they cooked, and they loved that. And thank you. Thank you for letting me work at SSC. I love working with the kids and trying to find what works for them and what I can do and what our teachers can do to help them be successful. They've not always thought they could do the same thing other kids could do, but they can. So, and I want to thank my staff, because without them, I would still be lost. They've taught me a lot, and they do a lot for our students that people don't really see. So. Any questions?
Dr. Harrington, I enjoy when we get to visit there, because it's a blessing to me.
Yeah. It is to me every day to get to go there and see them. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hefner, I'll turn it over to you for our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is attached in your agenda, and I would like for you to open it this time because I have given you 2 pictures to look at as far as one of the recent completions as far as the facility focus. It is also included in your agenda, and you know how to look at those different columns for updates. But the pictures are a couple of pictures from the baseball field. As you can see, new lights have been added to the baseball field, as well as that batter's eye that we have talked about for a long, long time. And everything really looks great. The only thing missing will be children actually out there playing, and I'm always hopeful that that will happen in the future. A big thank you is extended to Chris Campbell, the maintenance department, ACHS athletic boosters, Coach Pete Hardy, and just a lot of other people. If you go out to the baseball stadium, it looks like a different place. So if you haven't had an opportunity to do that, I know the man who can make it happen. His name is Chris Campbell. Also, I wanted to let you know that the principal's summative evaluations, those started this week, and everybody should be finished. If I don't have randomly scheduled Zoom meetings, they will be finished at the end of the day next Wednesday, June 10th. This auditorium's sound system, it's scheduled for an upgrade, and that is scheduled to begin next week, actually on June 8th. We were just informed that 2 of the speakers have been on back order. That back order has been extended to June 24th. However, work will likely still begin next week. I want to thank Kathy Caudle publicly. Alexander County Schools is among the 18 local education agencies recently awarded Farm to School Rapid Response funding by the Farm to School Coalition of North Carolina. This funding is intended to support urgent needs and long-term capacity building for local food purchasing for school meals and local food educational programming. in ways that increase the skills, knowledge, and connection to local foods for children and their families. Our school nutrition program was awarded $4,000 in the Farm to School Rapid Response Funding, and I would just ask you to say something to Kathy Caudle and just acknowledge her continued work to support the children and families of Alexander County as far as food goes. I today have been on 2 Zoom calls with superintendents, the Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Public Instruction, and I wanted to let you know that the 3 o'clock Zoom call, it was revealed that a guidance document for reentry to our schools will be made public next Thursday, that's June 11th. I know that everyone, you, our staff, students, and certainly the community, they've been very anxious about what reentry will look like, and this guidance document will be what is used statewide to help each system draft plans for their students and staff to return to our school buildings. I'm going to share more information with all of you in my weekly highlights. That will be next Friday after the document is made public on Thursday. But the bottom line is that every school system will have to have a Plan A, which means that everything will go back to normal, just as we knew it before March 13th. You'll have to have a Plan B, which is something that will be modified, which is probably something, either A-B schedules for children to come on various school days, or even a hybrid sort of plan where sometimes you're face-to-face and sometimes you are remote learning. And then you also, every school system will have to have a Plan C. And that Plan C is what we have been doing since March 13th, and that will be just a complete remote learning environment. So once we get those all in place, then we will receive guidance that certainly is higher than the local level. It will come from DHHS or the governor, whomever deems it appropriate, to make a health call at that point, and they will tell us which plan to execute, Plan A, B, or C. But again, a lot more information I'll share with you next Friday. School nutrition is still sending out mini meals, and this will continue through the summer. However, we are going to close 2 of our sites after this Friday, June 5th. On Friday, June 5th, families may pick up meals for the weekend, the 5th through the 7th, but beginning on Monday, June 8th, we are going to close Taylorsville Elementary and Stony Point Elementary. Those 2 sites will no longer be open. The Hidnight and East Middle School sites should be able to meet all the needs for those Stony Point families, and then Alexander Central High School, West Middle, or Wittenberg would be able to serve the families who would normally go to Taylorsville to pick up meals. Also beginning June 8th, the school food service program will start a 4-day week for summer feeding. And what that means is that they will have the sites open Monday through Thursday, but on Thursday, families will receive meals that will take them through Thursday through Sunday. And what that does, it just gives the staff an additional day, so they're going to have a 3-day weekend from that time moving forward, because in all honesty, they've been serving a lot of meals every day, and some of those folks just need a little bit more rest. So I wanted to make you aware of those changes. Most of all, I want to thank our Alexander County families for your continued participation in the school feeding program. That program has done just an extraordinary job in getting food to families throughout the county, so I'm very grateful. As many of you learned this afternoon in our meeting with Mr. Palmer, the high school principal, next week is going to be a very busy week at Alexander Central. Students are going to have their individual stage walks next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those times will be from 4 until 8 each day, and then a drive-in ceremony for graduation is scheduled for Friday, June 12th, beginning at 7. I look forward to all of these celebrations and want to thank all of the high school staff You've worked hard to make these celebrations extra special. They're different. Nobody argues that more than I do. They're different from the traditional graduation and ceremonies and celebrations, but that's okay. It will still be special, and that's because of the hard work of the folks over here at Alexander Central. And then just another and last FYI, summer work hours will begin for all 11 and 12-month employees during the week of June 15th. And as in years past, all work sites will be open 10 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, and then that allows us to close all of the sites on Fridays. So do you have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hefner. Members of the board, you'll see on our agenda, we've added a section for committee reports. You're going to see this each month, and so as you attend your committee meetings, and you can report them back to us at this time, and that way we get the information shared between us. So I'll open that up now. If you've had a committee meeting recently and you want to report an update on that, we would like to hear that at this time.
Madam Chair, I'd start with transportation. We've discussed a need for food service to have a mobile refrigeration unit. So we're in the process of purchasing a refrigerated truck that'll also have a lift gate on the back that our maintenance or transportation can use for any other needs also. That's to be purchased through food service. Money's there for that, and we're going to try to have that accomplished by the end of June. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Any other committee reports?
Chairman Ryan, the Facilities Committee has met a couple of times, still in the discussion and preliminary areas of Sugarloaf Elementary School as far as the renovations or additions, and our original plan of a new cafeteria, new office area, and new gymnasium came in with an estimated cost of construction at over $7 million, which would completely eliminate our half-cent sales tax and our lottery funds. And I don't think the board feels comfortable with that, so we've asked that to be revisited with a second plan with the cafeteria being renovated, a new office area in an existing part of the building, and then the new gymnasium to take place up closer to the road at the wing that could be actually demolished. I think that's gone back maybe an additional time with a change that Dr. Hefner saw needed as far as not having a good flow for students, but we're still on it.
Okay.
We're just not quite there yet.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the update. Are there any others, committee?
Mine's kind of a little bit different, but I went to a training, and if you can pass that down, or sat in on a training, we all have moved to remote worlds for many of our stuff, and the state has actually passed legislation concerning state guidelines on state business and remote meetings and how it can be held. And so here's a quick summary. I actually found it quite useful for a lot of other things, so that's why I thought everybody might want to see these points. But you can hold meetings remotely, and one of the things that I caught in that I thought was key to pay attention to is that when you're in a remote meeting, one thing we often do is we don't tell our name when we vote, but they want that to be done in a remote meeting. If there's somebody, even if one person's remote, that you do roll call voting, and you switch to that where everybody gives their name and then gives their vote. And they also want people to show up for the meeting and not show up just for one vote. So that was also written into the guidelines. And so there are ways to do it, and there are ways to still do it also remotely. We can work with employees If there is a hearing for an employee, you can hold it remotely as long as the person agrees to it. If the person does not agree to it, then you have to wait until such a time that you can hold it in person. But that's a quick summary. Like I said, I wrote all the points down, and there is a much longer document, and there's some policy changes that come along with this. But it was nice to see that they acted quickly to enable us, if we need to go to remote meeting.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I just have just a quick thought here. The Teacher of the Year process is going to proceed. Renee Mead is going to let the committee know when we can all get together. So that is something that some teachers are going to be very concerned about and interested in. It's because the regional level is staying on their original schedule, so we need to pick ours that can go on to the regional competition for that. So.
Okay, all right, good. Okay. Are there any others? Updates?
Those were great.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. And I would now like to recognize Ms. Susan Gant, Director of CTE and Secondary Education, for our house project update.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am pleased to be here tonight to tell you that our current house project is completed and ready for sale. So to give you a little information, you can back up one thing. You can go on to the next one. I want to give you a little background information, and I will say in the, I guess, 40-odd years that there's, or 30-some-odd years that there's been a house project, this has probably been the longest one in the making. There's a couple of reasons for that, actually, but the current house, we actually began construction in September of 2013. The house before it was fairly slow to sell because of the economy at that time, so there was a year and a half between the completion of house number 12 and the start of house number 13. So we did clear the lot in the spring of 13 because the other house sold in the fall of 2012. But it's hard to begin construction on a house in the middle of the school year, so we did wait until September of 2013 to actually start construction. A couple of things had happened right before that. The construction trades classes prior to 2012 had year-long classes. So if you had students in Carpentry 3 or Masonry 3 or even Level 2, you had them all year. And same as Level 1. So there was usually something for a Level 1 student to do, a 2, and a 3. But in 2012, they went, because of schedule conflicts at the high school, they went to semester-based classes. So if we had Carpentry 3 in the fall, then we might not have a Carpentry 3 class in the spring, and so therefore there may be things that need to be done at that Level 3 level, and we didn't have students to do it. So sometimes things got off schedule because of that. We've also had 5 different general contractors during this period, and sometimes we had a little downtime in between, and we couldn't do anything while we didn't have a general contractor on board. So that's been a minor issue, but that is still something I wanted to mention. We also had a brand new carpentry teacher that started in the fall of 2012, so there's a large learning curve on his part. But anyway, we have got through all that, and like I said, the house is now ready to sell May of 2020. Okay. Some details on the house. So I put the address there. If you want to drive by and see it, you're welcome to. It is approximately 1,600 square feet. It is an all-brick house with vinyl trim. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2-car garage, concrete floor. Sits on right at 1 acre of land. I had priced it with a minimum bid of $175,000, and I probably need to apologize for that because it is a Board of Education property, so I don't know if I was supposed to ask the board prior to that what the price should be. And I'm sorry I didn't think to ask. We just advertised it. I did have a real estate agent that is a friend of mine to come over and help with what would be market value. So that's how the price, we set the price. So it was advertised, bidding was open May the 20th through June the 1st, which was yesterday. So you can see this is the flyer, and you have a copy of this, I believe, in your folder, because this one, since it's the the full flyer and bidding sheet's a little hard to read on the screen, but you should have a copy of that with you. That was what was placed in the newspaper. It's on our website, and we used some social media to try to get the information out that the house was for sale. Because of COVID-19, we could not have an open house, as was traditional with the house project, where people could come in and see it. So we did a virtual walkthrough. Sherry Baird, who is part of the CTE staff with me, was our videographer. Neither one of us are professionals. So anyway, we don't need to necessarily show the video. It's just I wanted you to have access to it. It is 6 minutes, so I'm not going to take the time to show all that today. But if you want to click through that and see it, then you can see what the house looks on the inside. But we wanted that to be available to the public since we could not do an open house and have them come in and see it for themselves. Now, I did offer the option if someone was interested. I think that's the music for the video.
The thing is, I clicked on it, and I have actually watched the video. It's quite good.
So, well, good, thank you. Like I said, we are not professionals, but we wanted for some way to be able to see the inside of the house since we couldn't do an open house. Now, I did put my name and office number out there with the advertisements. If someone really wanted to come and see it, then they could contact me, and I would go out there and show them the house. And I did have one couple to contact me to want to come see the house, so I did that actually on Memorial Day. They came and saw it. But I regret to say that as of yesterday, June the 1st at 3 o'clock, we did not have any bids on the house. So I'm not sure why. Some people I did have the question of, is it better to put in a bid or to wait and see what the bid is and do an upset bid, because that's the process. So I don't know if some people were waiting on that or if we just don't really have interest in the house, but we didn't have any bids as of yesterday, so I would like to re-advertise the house. We'll use some of the same formats. We can use the Taylorsville Times. That's how it was originally advertised, so I will do that again. We also have it on our CTE webpage. It was on the high school webpage. The CTE, we have our own social media. We have Instagram and Twitter, so we will use those again. Now, we also have Facebook, and the school has Facebook, and the school system has Facebook, and it was not put on Facebook before. I am probably one of the only people of my generation that is not on Facebook, so I didn't realize that it wasn't there. I thought we had it posted. But when we started looking for it, Deborah was helping me do this the other day, and it was not. So I will make sure that it is on Facebook when we re-advertise on all 3 accounts. So if we re-advertise again starting tomorrow, and I think that if I send it in tonight with your approval, then I can get it in tomorrow's paper so we can start the process again. Then we would have the next due date for bids would be Monday, June the 15th. So wanted to give you an update, but to ask if it's okay to re-advertise the house. Do we want to leave it as the same minimum bid price? And do we want to include any other options? I know that Zillow is popular for people looking for houses, and that's a free site, so we could even put it on Zillow if we wanted to.
Anybody have any comments on that?
Yeah, just one more time advertising is what I would be.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that Zillow would certainly be appropriate if it is a free advertisement, because a lot of people do look at that.
I've actually heard a lot of discussion
Okay,
in the community about the house, positive, not negative.
okay,
I've heard interest. I don't think the price is actually wrong
okay.
that you started at. I don't know if we need to officially do that or not, maybe for safety, do we?
Do we have to approve that?
The
We have
board
to-
set the price
board
or not?
Have to set the price?
I'm not sure.
I don't know that
Don't
rule.
either.
So,
Well, I didn't either, and that's why, like I said, I had a real estate agent to come and help before, and then I did it, and then it was like, oh, maybe I was supposed to ask y'all.
If it's a bid, they don't set a bid for anything else, Susan, so I think that you have been appropriate in the way
Okay.
that you determined that.
All right,
If we go through the bid process for several times and don't have, a lot of interest there, some people are afraid of the bid. They want a set price so that they know if I act on this today, that's my house.
right.
And so I've run into that multiple times, so.
Okay.
Well, we can try it one more time. Like I said, I can get it in the paper tomorrow. We can put it on all the social media tomorrow. Zillow, we have to have pictures instead of our video, so it'll take a couple days to get, I have to get more pictures. So we can put all that on and then have the bids then, the deadline again for Monday, June the 15th, and hopefully we'll have bids then.
Good.
Okay. Are there any questions about the house? Or any questions on the process?
The price is very fair.
Okay,
I promise you that.
okay, good, thank
And
you.
I
was
will
thinking,
tell you
oh my
that I
gosh.
saw the video right after Susan and Sherry made the video, and it's really great. And she talks about them being amateurs, but I thought it was of quality, so thank you.
And I have walked in the house and walked by it, and it is nice. It is just, it
I
turned
think
out
so.
very nice.
Good, thank you.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Ms. Sharon Mahaffey, Chief Financial Officer with our Board of Education Policy Revisions.
Tonight, we have one new policy and 5 revision policies up for first reading, and I will solicit input and bring those back next month. And I'm just really excited. I mean, I'm probably the only person in this whole school system gets excited about policies, but our new policy is remote participation in board meetings. So now you can all give me your expert input.
I personally like face-to-face. I guess we have a need for remote, though, so we'll
I
go
think
along
it's
with
just
that.
a contingency.
Yeah.
It's a contingency.
Okay, so we will bring these back in July. And Ms. Mahaffey, you're next for the continuing budget resolution.
Renee asked me if it was the same as last year, and I said, yes, it's probably been 15 years now that I've come to ask you to approve a continuing resolution. And this continuing resolution will allow us to operate at the 2019-20 level until the legislature passes a 2021 budget or in some way gives us guidance about the budget for next year.
So we need to approve this resolution. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we'll hear from Ms. Jessica Anderson, Director of Testing and Accountability for we've got 2 calendar options, changes.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. So first on the agenda, we have the early college calendar, which needed to be revised. And I will go through it by month and let you know the immediate changes.
Ms. Anderson, will you let them know why it needed to be revised as far as based on some new legislation?
Certainly, certainly. As we spoke about briefly at the previous board meeting, the new legislation requires, Senate Bill 704, requires that district calendars and early college calendars, cooperative innovative high schools, they also must have 5 remote instruction days and 5 additional days in their school calendar beyond what was previously in it. The year before is what they put the standard at. So, doing that, we've reworked both calendars and gone through and added 5 additional days and also determined 5 remote learning days for students in those. So I'm going to go through the early college first, and I'll go by month, and then I think I can hopefully give you a summation of what changed from the previously approved calendar. But please don't hesitate to interrupt with a question. For the early college, the first student day will now be August 5th. So August 5th, 6th, and 7th will now count as additional learning days. So there's 3. Okay. In September, we added a remote learning day on September 4th. Remote learning days can also function as teacher work days. So that will be an optional teacher workday. The question has already been asked, well, if it's an optional teacher workday, what if the teacher chooses not to work that day? That's completely fine. The only thing in the provision is that there is prepared lessons ahead of time. Remote learning is not necessarily internet-based.
So on remote learning, it doesn't have to be like a Zoom meeting, it can just be work to do on the computer?
Correct.
Okay.
In October 16th, we added yet another remote learning day, and it is a required teacher workday. There are no further changes in November or December from the previously approved. In January, also no further changes. In February 19th became an optional teacher workday as well as a remote learning day. March 12th became an optional teacher workday and a remote learning day. The following Friday, March 19th, was previously a work day and now is an additional learning day. Similar pattern in April. April 16th is now optional teacher work day and remote learning day. And the following Friday, April 23rd, is an additional work day. There's no change in May. And just quickly, I can tell you, let me find my notes so I don't tell you incorrectly. The additional instructional days were pulled from August 5th, 6th, and 7th, March 19th, which was an optional workday, and April 23rd, which was also an optional workday previously. So that's where we found the additional days. Are there any questions about the early college calendar before I ask for your approval?
I think I saw that the universities are going to finish their first semester before Thanksgiving, but that doesn't affect us.
Yeah, no, that does not. We'll still have to go after Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you.
I hate to slow it down a little bit. I'm just still confused what a remote instruction day is, and I'm so sorry about that.
Don't
But I'm sitting here
apologize.
confused, and I'm going to ask.
So remote instruction day is essentially when students are not in the school building, but learning continues. It can occur via internet instruction, Zoom meetings, webinars, recorded video sessions, instructional sessions, demonstrations via, again, a recorded video. It can also be continuing work projects, work packets, the myriad of things we're doing now, or up till now, with our students.
And what was their thinking of why we needed 5 of those?
I can-
hate to ask you that, I understand.
I'm going to make an assumption that we're just trying to add additional learning time since we've lost some this year.
And I will tell you also that Dr. Curry is working on a remote learning plan that every system is being required to complete. There are 13 components to that plan, is that correct?
They have 2 today, they don't have the template, so there are 15 now.
15 components, okay?
Cover the 5 instructional days, but also a longer-term remote instructional plan, in which we have to push out new content. So really, there's not, part of the argument from the curriculum people is that it's really hard to push out new content with 5, 6, and 7 year-olds. They really need an adult with them to learn anything new, and as do many of our older children. They can be somewhat self-guided, but when it's new content, trying to figure out how we can do that if it's not virtual, face or face-to-face.
Well, I guess I'm just, why I was confused. I mean, maybe they're trying to get them used to that learning methodology.
I think it's a push to get us used to that, but I think these 5 days are to somehow make up for some lost instructional time. But the rest of the remote instructional plan is if we don't come back to school, come back on an 8-week schedule,
Right.
or have an extended shutdown again, so that we're more ready. I think our system and our teachers have done a fantastic job with this, but I don't think that's the paper process. And they want folks to be ready in the event that something like this happens.
Again.
And the part that I'm getting a little lost is if it is truly remote learning, a child that does not, once again, have internet or have the devices at home is lost.
The remote learning plan is a connectivity survey. And so we are looking at some of the money that has been earmarked for devices, but we're also looking at
And we will also be we'll purchase additional devices so that every child will have a device.
That's one point of the 15-point plan. And I'll probably be presenting on that in the July board meeting because we have the template on Friday and it's due July 20th. And we have another template for summer learning that is going to be given to us Friday morning, and that was due June 22nd.
Dr. Curry, I don't think that we got any of that recorded, but at least the board heard it. And if we have to ask any more questions, do you care to come to the mic? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't think about that because we could hear you just fine, but I just got a signal from back in the back of the room that they could not hear that. So, all right.
Did that help, Matt?
It did.
Okay.
It did.
Okay. So
We need to take action.
we need to take action on the early college calendar. So if
Yes.
there's a motion to approve the calendars presented.
So moved.
And a second?
Second by Scott.
Scott, okay. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, and we'll move on to the Alexander County Schools calendar.
Thank you for the segue. For the Alexander County Schools, we took the first two optional teacher workdays, August 7th and 10th, and those are removed, so we were able to add days to the end of the school year, and that's where we got 2 additional instructional days. So that's the change in August. There's no change in September. Change in October is a remote learning day on the 16th. That's a required teacher workday. The following Monday was a workday, but is now an additional learning day. No change in November. No change in December. In January, we had a remote learning day added on the 29th. That's also an optional teacher workday. In February, we had a workday, February 15th. That was removed, and it was changed into an additional school day. February the 19th is a remote learning day, optional teacher workday. March 11th is an optional teacher workday, remote learning day. April 1st was a early dismissal day, but is now a remote learning day and optional teacher workday. We've added additional days to the calendar. I'm sorry, May, there's no change. In June, we've added additional days to the calendar. So June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd also become additional learning days, and that gets us to the 5. So October 19th was a previously required workday. We've changed that to an additional instructional day. February 15th was originally a required workday, and we've changed that to an additional instructional day. June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd were added to the school year to give us the rest of the days required for the additional instructional days. Okay. Any questions I can answer regarding that?
Okay, we need approval on this calendar as well, so is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you.
Ms. Gant, if you will share our local CTE plan for 2020 to 2021, please.
For those of you that were on the board last year at this time, the presentation is a little different in that we have had a lot of changes in CTE. And those are just pictures, so you can go on to the next slide. A couple of things, I'm going to give you just a brief summary on the program and what all we do, and then I'll get into a lot of the changes that we've had this year. We do operate using state and federal funds. We have local funds provided by the county commissioners for one additional position, and that is the teacher for our fire academy, who also is teaching some of the construction trades also. And it's my understanding that that was approved again last night. Yay! So we'll get to keep that position. We do employ 24 teachers 4 middle school and 20 high school. So all 4 of the middle school and 19 of the high school are paid for out of our CTE months of employment, with 1 being paid from the local funds. We also have a high school career development coordinator. I've put the initials up here, but certified instructional management coordinator and special populations coordinator. Those are all required positions in CTE, and we have those lumped into one position, and that's filled by Sherry Baird. And then we have a middle school career development coordinator, and that's Brent Dula, and he is actually paid for by a grant. 3 years ago, I wrote a CTE grade expansion grant. That's good for 7 years. So he is paid out of that fund, and then at the end of 7 years, we'll have to be able to work him into the budget as well. We also have an administrative assistant that we work with. And I actually will refer to us in our plan, our application for funding, and probably even this evening as the CTE administrative team. And that is Mr. Dula, Ms. Baird, and myself. We all 3 have offices together here at the high school, so it's very easy for us to work together. And even though technically Mr. Dula is a middle school CDC and Ms. Baird is a high school person, we really all work together. So if there's something going on at the high school that we all need to chip in, then we do. If there's something at the middle school, then we all do that. So we really all work together as an administrative team. And even with the position, the one position out of local position from the county commissioners, we are thrilled to have that, but the money they give us is actually not quite enough for a full position, so we do add to that from our state funding to be able to fully pay the teacher in that position. The pictures here and the next slide, this is our 2nd year of doing STEM tours with our county 8th graders. And this has been a big success. The students really seem to enjoy it, and our businesses have been fully involved. A lot of them will give little trinkets or little things to the students as they leave, so they seem to enjoy that. This year, even though we were cut short, we were able to get the business tour part in for both East and West. However, students at East did not get to go to our CVCC visit, which is usually a part 2 of our STEM tours, because of COVID-19. They were scheduled to go March the 23rd, and we shut down the week before that. So our 8th grade students from East did not get to visit CVCC campus in Hickory, but that usually is part of the tour. We actually served 1,183 students. That is a duplicated count with the 4 teachers that we have at the middle school level. A lot of students do take both classes at each school, so that is a duplicated number. Here at the high school, we offer courses in 6 different program areas. The state has 16 career cluster areas, and we offer courses in 13 of those, which actually is a lot. We have a large variety of courses for a small system, and especially for a single high school. So that's something that we're very proud of. We do have 4 strong CTSOs, that's Career and Technical Student Organizations. So those for us are FFA, Skills USA, DECA, and our National Technical Honor Society. We served about 1,900 students here, and again, that is a duplicated count because we do have several students that will take multiple CTE classes. We also offer opportunities for students to participate in Apprenticeship Catawba program and the Construction Academy. This year, we don't have any students participating in Apprenticeship Catawba. We've had several in the past, but this year, we don't have any. We do have 3 students that are going to participate in Construction Trades Academy that actually started this week through CVCC. I also found out that through CVCC in Catawba County, they offer a SOFA program, which is their Furniture Academy, and we have 1 student who's choosing to participate in the Furniture Academy in Catawba County versus the Furniture Academy here because her parents work in Catawba County, and it was easier for her to go ahead and sign on there. So she has joined the SOFA program there instead of the Furniture Academy here. We had 54 students, and that's a duplicated number because I didn't compare the semesters, but a total of 54 students that participated in some type of internship throughout the year. So that number just continues to grow, which is something we're proud of. We want the students to get out there and experience jobs to figure out what they like, what they don't like, which will help them in their career path. We do have 2 teachers retiring this year, so we have already been able to post an interview and hire for one of those, and so that other one we will be posting and interviewing hopefully in the very near future. But we are losing 2 to retirement this year, but we wish them well. Now, that's just kind of a brief summary of everything that we offer here. The next part is our new process. CTE is governed by the Carl D. Perkins Act, which is a federal act, and it provides money for CTE at the middle school and high school level. One thing with our funding, we are funding based on the total enrollment in the county of students in grades 8 through 12, and that's designated by the Perkins Act. Even though we serve students in grades 6 through 12, our funding is based on enrollment in 8 through 12. But it also is not based at all on the number of students in CTE classes. It's just based on total enrollment. So even though we have duplicated students and all that, that doesn't matter. They just look at enrollment in grades 8 through 12. The Carl D. Perkins Act has undergone its 5th authorization, so we commonly refer to that as Perkins 5. So we've been under Perkins 4 for many years because it took a while for that reauthorization to take place, but as of this coming year, we will be fully under Perkins 5, and there are many changes in that. Part of it is how we apply each year for our federal and state funding. So we even have a different platform this year. Before it was just a CTE platform, and this year we're in with all the other federal programs in the CCIP platform. So we're learning a whole new platform. They had to transfer all of our data. So that's been a little blip for us in the process this year. There are 5 required parts, and you can see those because I'm going to talk about each one individually that I have to deal with in the plan. The first part is our data indicators of performance. When you look at the 4-year graduation rate, academic proficiency in reading, language arts, and all those, they look at the CTE completers, not all students. A CTE completer under Perkins 4 was a student who had 4 CTE courses in a pathway. So they may have to have construction core, carpentry 1 and 2, and they may have had personal finance or something, but it was all in one particular cluster. With Perkins 5, that's changing to students only have to have 2 courses in a cluster, and most of those are going to be a level 1 and 2, carpentry 1 and 2, ag mechanics 1 and 2. So that's going to change our numbers a great deal starting next year in the number of completers we have. But they only look at CTE completers when they're looking at our 4-year graduation rate or the academic proficiency in reading, language arts, and things like that. So that's going to be a change also. For academic proficiency in reading, language arts, they look at the student's English 2 EOC score. So that's when they're sophomores. So if we're going to make any change in our academic proficiency in reading, language arts, then we have to focus on students in their freshman and sophomore year to make a difference in their English 2 score. For academic proficiency in math, they use Math 1. So again, that's freshman year. For some students, that's first semester freshman year. So it's a little tougher for us to go in and make a difference on their EOC score in Math 1 because we haven't had them long. Some students next year, and in the past they have had Math 1 in 8th grade. So it's, again, harder for us to make a difference in their score there. Academic proficiency in science, they use biology. A lot of students take biology as a sophomore. So again, most of our plans to affect these scores have to take place their freshman and sophomore years. Post-secondary placement, every year we do a concentrator feedback survey of our graduates. So we talk to them almost 1 year after graduation. We normally do this in April, so it's not a full year after graduation, to find out what they're doing. Are they in school part-time, full-time? Are they at a community college or a 4-year university? Are they in the military? If they're working, where are they working, and how does that relate to the courses they had in high school? So our teachers call these students every year, fill out this survey so that we can gather that information. Non-traditional program enrollment, the state has put out state CTE on which courses and who is considered non-traditional. So females in carpentry would be non-traditional. So we look at our non-traditional enrollment, and that's where that score comes from. Program quality for credentials. Credentials are going to be a big part of Perkins 5. So we're going to have to offer more credentials to our students because we're going to be judged on how many students are eligible for a credential, how many actually earn the credential. And then program quality other is actually the last category, but for assessments. So that will be whatever proof of learning the courses have, whether it's a 100-question assessment that they take at the end. For some of them, starting next year, it will be some type of product or something that they do. In entrepreneurship, too, they're going to create a business plan. So things like that. So it might not be just a test, but whatever proof of learning we use, then that's what we will be judged on for program quality assessments. Now, Part 1 data is always a year behind. So we will be looking at our 18-19 scores for this. But that data was just loaded into our new platform Friday afternoon. So this part of the plan is not yet complete. So when we get to approval, I will mention that again, but I just wanted you to understand. This year, it will be only baseline data in there because it is our first year in the new program. So we will have baseline data this year and then move up from there. The second part of the plan, and this is brand new, is a comprehensive local needs assessment. So every 2 years, we will have to conduct a comprehensive local needs assessment as part of our plan. And you can see the areas there that we have to focus on for this needs assessment. So we began in September gathering this information. We used all of fall semester, so September through January, to gather information. You can go on to the next slide. The first thing we had to do is identify who our stakeholders were, who has input or who needs to have input in our program area. So you can see the people that we interviewed or talked to in some form or fashion. We used surveys, paper, pencil surveys, as well as electronic surveys. We had face-to-face meetings and sometimes just casual conversations with people to get their feedback. So the rating scale we had to use was not met, developing, established, or distinguished on all the areas that were on the previous slide. Evaluation of performance, labor market, size, scope, and quality, career pathway program of study, recruitment, and equal access. So once we got all the survey and all the data back, then the administrative team, so that was Brent, Sherry, and I, had to sift through all that and provide our rating scale on all those different areas. Some of the things that we found, though, in completing our comprehensive needs assessment, some things we are doing well. We're meeting state goals in most areas. Our pathways are aligned to our local industry needs. We do offer a large variety of courses. Our facilities are up to date and maintained. We have a lot of middle school career awareness activities. We have strong career technical student organizations. We have a strong partnership with our local community college, and we do have low teacher turnover. Some areas for improvement for us. We need to solidify our process for analyzing some of our data. The local needs assessment helped us realize that there are some areas that we were not really considering before. So we're going to have to add that into any of our data analysis. Based on industry feedback, we need to incorporate more soft skills training into our courses, so that will be something we add into all of our courses starting next year. We're going to have to work on funding for credentials or allocating our funds for credentials. We are required to pay for the first attempt of a student for whatever the credential is. And then if they pass it, great. If they don't, if they take a second attempt, then that is on them. But I'm required to provide their first attempt for a credential. We're also looking at a platform for our career awareness and course selection activities, so the students could log on beginning their 6th grade year when they work with Mr. Dula in the middle school, and they start doing interest inventories and then different career awareness activities, and it would store that information. So then they do different activities their 7th and 8th grade year, and then they could even use the same platform then to plan their high school courses to make sure that they're all in the right cluster and that they graduate with all their high school graduation requirements. So we're looking at adding that to our program. We want to increase engagement with our business partners, and then a way to recognize our teachers' accomplishments and achievements. That's something that I struggle with. I may talk to teachers one-on-one and say, congratulations, great job, whatever, but a way to recognize them in front of the group or in front of the school so that they receive some additional recognition. Again, based on our survey, our information, there's some additional courses that we're going to offer because of student interest or expressed interest. So for this coming school year, we have added Computer Science 1. CompTIA IT Fundamentals is a state prerequisite for our computer engineering technology courses, so we've added that in. But Financial Planning 1, Sales 1, Counseling and Mental Health 1, and then our Firefighter Technology 1 and 2. For the next school year, we hope to add in Computer Science 2, AP Computer Science, and then the second level of Financial Planning, Sales, Counseling and Mental Health, Firefighter 3, and then possibly even a Pharmacy Tech. It was indicated on a lot of our surveys that they would like another path in healthcare other than just CNA. So we're trying to explore options to bring in other healthcare careers. So Pharmacy Tech is a good option, and there may be others. Part 3 of the plan is our local application narratives, and I'm not going to read the slides to you, but we have to discuss a lot. We have to describe how we do things, what we do, how we look at our information, how we gather information. So that part has been completed. Part 4 is our budgeting, and I have mentioned that before. We have 3. You can go to the next slide, I'm sorry. We have 3 pots that we are allotted for CTE. PRC 013 and 14 are both state funds, months of employment, and then state funding, and then 017 is our federal funding. As of today, I am pleased to announce that we're up 2 months of employment for next school year, which is great. We're down about $1,000 for our state funding in 014, but right now we're up about $8,000 in 17. So overall, we should have a little bit more money than last year. The problem is that's not always real stable. It would be nice if they told me today, here's the amount of money you have, and that's what we had all year. But they're bad to kind of come back in, October and take some money, or they'll come back in January and take a little money. And so it's kind of a constant moving process. So Miss Mahaffey has to talk to me a lot and help me through things when I'm like, okay, Sharon, I don't know how to pay for this, because they want to move money around. But anyway, I'm thrilled that for next year, right now, we're up a little bit on funding. A lot of that will go toward credentials. Now, the last part of the plan is our approval process. And as I mentioned before, the plan is incomplete at this time because the data for Part 1 was just loaded into the system on Friday afternoon. So I have not had the opportunity to finish writing all the narratives that go with all those different parts. So I have options for you because the state says we have to have board approval by June the 30th every year. However, because they were late getting our information loaded into the system, state CTE has given us until June the 19th to get the information in for Part 1. So tonight we can do a general approval, I guess if you trust me, of the plan, and I can come back after June the 19th and give you an update, or we could meet again maybe in an electronic format, and I can give you more information on Part 1 and do an approval after June the 19th when that part is finalized.
Okay, board
And
members,
normally,
what's your
I have been
pleasure?
able to give you access so that you can go in and look at it. Because our platform has changed, I can't do that. You cannot see anything until the plan has been approved. So once it's been approved, I can give you access to go in and look at it. I haven't printed anything either because it's not complete. But we will have access to that later.
Okay, board members, what's your pleasure?
One question I have, is the data a definite prerequisite for approval of the complete plan?
No. Let me read. It's not required for you to approve the plan. It is required. We go through our regional coordinators for CTE. They're our state level people, but they work in regions. So my regional coordinator has to go through and check every part and approve it, and then it's added, they combine them all to make the state plan. That then has to be approved. So the data piece will have to be included before my regional coordinator will approve it and send it on to state level. If that makes sense.
But it's not required for their approval this evening.
It doesn't have to be. But if you want to see that information or have more information on it as far as what actual numbers are, like how do we rank compared to the state, then I don't have that information tonight. But I'll be happy to share it with you after I have all that taken care of.
Okay. Do we want to wait? Do we want to approve this tonight? What's your pleasure?
I'd make a motion to move to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. There's just, Scott, did you second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a second. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, we will now enter our closed session portion of the agenda pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6. Could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we will now go into closed session. Thank you.